Tuesday Talks and Tips. And today we have another very special presenter. George Marshall is District 57 Chief Pathways Guide. That was the district that piloted Pathways 2 years ago. He has done 4 DTMs. His fourth one is the first Pathways DTM in his district. And today he will be talking about how to pick a path. In this tip session, George will share insights on how the 11 paths differ in their communications and leadership content. The material will help you narrow down the list of paths to check out. He will also show how to get more detail about each path. In the first 15 to 20 minutes, he will describe paths in related groups. Then we will break for questions on the material presented. Next, he will demonstrate how to get more details on any path, including the actual project summaries. Then there will be a final Q&A section. Now, in the interest of everybody being able to gain as much as possible and also that we stay on time, we request that you keep yourselves muted during the presentation session. When we say we're breaking for questions, then that's when you can unmute yourself. And obviously, you know that this meeting is being recorded. If you do not wish to have your image appearing in the recording, then you can keep your video off, which I noticed several have done already. So at this point, let me welcome with great pleasure our presenter for today, D57 Chief Pathways Guide, George Marshall.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. It's a pleasure to be here and to see all of you here on this great session. What I'm going to talk about tonight, as Michelle previewed for you, it's a little bit about differences between paths. And here's the background. I found that in my club, my home club, which of course is pretty positive on pathways because I've been helping influence them that way, there's still newer members that are kind of dragging their feet on selecting a path. And when I talk to them, some of them were a little overwhelmed about the possibilities. Others had jumped right in, they'd picked 1 or 2 paths and they were going along happily, but not everyone did. So I created this presentation and I've tested it a couple of places to kind of go through how there's a structure, because there is more structure to the paths than you will read in any official document, but I think you're going to find it very, very helpful. So let's get into it. I'm going to present some slides here. How to pick a path. So here's the question. Are you ready to try pathways? Would you like to do it? And we've got lots of choices, 11 different paths thought through by staff to work out how you can convey different skills for the different things people want to learn. Now, the odd thing is, in the traditional program, everyone got the same manual. There were basically no choices until you'd been in Toastmasters for a while. In Pathways, we have 11 different paths to choose from. Some people think that's wonderful. Some people find it to be a little bit of a struggle. Too many choices for some people? Let's try a parallel. If we go into an ice cream shop and the only thing available is vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry, I bet you can pick the one you want quickly, almost instantly, right? But suppose we go into a gelato shop with 31 flavors and there's all these different flavors to pick from, and you're not familiar with anyone, you can kind of get lost. Which one I'm going to pick? Can I taste them all? What do they like? So that's the scenario we find ourselves in. And I'm going to give you a guide to flavors tonight. Pathways flavors. Now, just as a reminder, some of you may know this, some may not. Pathways has 5 core competencies that we teach that are offered by the project. Public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and building confidence. These competencies are present in various versions of all the paths. Some have different choices than others. But the documents we have don't really tell you exactly. There are places you can go where you can get an idea, but it doesn't tell you how you're going to learn those, how you're going to teach them. So we're going to go through these. Now the path structure is the same for all the paths. It's very regular. All 11 paths have 5 levels, and the complexity increases from level 1 up through level 5. They also have required projects. We'll talk more about that. And they have elective projects. So you have the ability to shape what you learn in your path. Now the first 2 levels basically have no options, so let's not worry about them. But in levels 3, 4, and 5, we have required projects that you have to do to complete that level. And then you have elective projects. These are the projects that you get to pick among a set of choices to shape the path and your learning situation the way you want to go. Here's the interesting insight. The required projects basically define each path. 1 and 2 are quite similar. The electives are mostly available in all the paths. You get to choose the ones you want. The required projects turn out to define it. Those 3 projects. Level 5 shows 2 required projects. In fact, 1 is common. The other one is a unique one to that particular path. So what I'm going to do now is take you through a way of looking at those paths that'll help you understand what each one of them might do for you. So they're grouped by the skills learned, so to speak. Now, Toastmasters we think of as being for public speaking. In fact, Toastmasters is also where leaders are made. And in fact, in a very real sense, we can learn interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, and management, which is the elements of leadership that Toastmasters uses. So here's an insight you may not have seen. There are 4 groups of paths. Group 1, and we're going to go into the details on these, is solely public speaking. There's no leadership projects. Group 2 has some leadership focus, and by leadership focus, I mean you're going to get involved in some kind of a leadership-oriented project. Group 3, as you might guess, adds additional complexity or content related around leadership. And group 4, you know by now, is much heavier on leadership. Notice, all of these have a very strong emphasis on public speaking. Practically every project we do in Toastmasters has a speech. But as we'll see, some of the speeches are going to be about a leadership project that we completed. So let's get into it. The first group, which I call the public speaking group, total focus on public speaking. All the required projects you do are speeches. You can do leadership projects available, and there are electives available for you to pick if you like. The level 5 projects, why am I concentrating on level 5? The level 5 is the highest, most complex or most challenging, if you will, project in any path. And in some sense, we can take it as a benchmark for the path. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the level 5 project, which is the roll-up of what do you do in that path. In this group, public speaking, level 5 projects are simply longer speeches. You may remember keynote projects, longer speeches from the Competent Communication Manual. Same concept. What are the paths? There's 2 paths: presentation mastery, part of the original set, and engaging humor, which is our newest path. These are group 1. Now let's go to group 2, which I'm calling light leadership. In this group, we have public speaking plus a very modest focus on leadership. The projects here are simple. I'm calling them lightweight. You are to plan or do, in some cases you only plan, in other cases you do it, a very modest project of some type. and then give a speech about your experiences. The level 5 projects in this group are to plan and possibly complete a modest project. Again, there's more than one path in here. The projects do differ slightly, so you'll plan and maybe complete one. A simple event is a good example that they give. Could be a family event, could be the family vacation, could be a modest club project of some kind. The paths in this group: leadership development, motivational strategies, and visionary communications. Group 3, what I'm calling moderate leadership. Public speaking is always there, plus we have the leadership projects are slightly more involved now. You're to create and develop plans working with a team. A little different here. The level 5 projects that we do at this level are to serve at least 6 months in a leadership role. What kind of a leadership role? Could be a club officer, could be a committee chair in the district, could be an at-work project, could be something you do outside Toastmasters, could be a volunteer position you're doing somewhere. But you serve 6 months in a leadership role. The paths in this group are dynamic leadership, strategic relations, and team collaboration. What's in our 4th group? I call this the strong leadership group. This is public speaking plus a substantial leadership project of some kind. You are to create and develop detailed plans with a team. This is more substantial, broader scope than the Group 3 project. It may or may not take 6 months, but it definitely substantial scope of project is the idea. What are the level 5 projects in Group 4? They all require the high performance leadership. Now, those of you that have participated in the traditional program, possibly have earned a DTM, this is quite similar, very, very similar. It's been written and it's got a few slightly different things, but essentially it is the HPL you know. For those of you who haven't seen it before, this is more substantial. You need both a guidance committee, someone who's going to advise you and monitor you as you do the project, as well as the action team, the people who you will be leading to do it. An HPL cannot consist of you going out and doing a project yourself. You need to lead a team. That's why it's a substantial project. The paths in Group 4 are effective coaching, innovative planning, and persuasive influence. And all of those require an HPL. So let's roll them up. Excuse me. Just to summarize, first group, public speaking, presentation mastery, and engaging humor paths. Second group is light leadership, leadership development, motivational strategies, and visionary communications paths. The third group we call moderate leadership is dynamic leadership, strategic relations, and team collaboration. And strong leadership, effective coaching, innovative planning, and persuasive influence. Now, one question you might have here is, okay, we've got 11 paths. Who's picking which one? How popular are these? Who does the most? Let's look at that. The number 1 path, as defined by headquarters from the numbers that they gather on how we all pick paths, is innovative planning in the strong leadership group. The second one is presentation mastery in the public speaking group. The third one is dynamic leadership in the moderate leadership group. Effective coaching, also in strong leadership. And finally, leadership development. These are the top 5 paths that we have in terms of their popularity. So I want to leave you in this section of my presentation. I want to leave you with this idea. Yes, Pathways does offer choices. Whatever your goals or Toastmasters is, there's probably a path just right for you. And I'm now giving you a tool to narrow down the focus on which path you might want to dig in more detail. So pick your favorite flavor of Toastmasters, your favorite flavor of paths, and jump right into it. So what I'm going to do now is stop and take any questions that you might have on this part of it. When we come back, I'm going to lead you through actually investigating some details in some of the paths. So, any questions, folks?
And at this point, you have two choices. You can either unmute yourself, raise your hand, unmute yourself, or type your question onto the chat if you would rather not show yourself. So either of those two ways. And while waiting for the first person to unmute himself or herself or put a question in the chat, I did a pathways session on Saturday, George, and one of the questions I got asked is, how do we know based on the titles of the paths and just looking through the initial descriptions, how are we going to know which path to choose? Obviously, I didn't have your presentation with me. What would you suggest would be a quick response if you suddenly get asked that question and you don't have all of your slides ready, or people here attending the session don't have the slides handy?
An answer without that. The really quick answer is, we'll be with you shortly, okay? The really quick answer is that there are 11 paths. There are now resources all over the world. I would say probably 15 or 20 different districts have a nice summary of all of them. I'm going to show you one document that District 57 created, but there's now many ways, not from Toastmasters headquarters, I agree, look at what is in those paths. And I think that's the best way to choose, is to actually look at the projects and say, is that what I want to do? Are those the kind of things I'd like to do? So let's go on to Kay here. Kay, Rin?
I think it's Kay Nguyen. Nguyen.
Okay, yeah, it's me. Yeah. Okay. Hello, every Toastmaster all over the world. To be honest, I'm being the first term of the new role leadership is president, and I just joined Toastmaster for around 1.5 years, and I'm come from Da Nang, Vietnam, central of Vietnam. Okay, and this is the first time I joined a global training like that. So today I want to ask you, to be honest, when I choose my pathway through doing the examination, lots of questions from Toastmaster International, I don't have a mentor for me to do that. I just do it by myself. I don't know about anything that the guy training me today, that we have 4 types of leadership, right? We have public speaking and live and moderate and strong. To be honest, I don't know completely about that. And so can I ask a question? I'm a president right now, and I don't know how to guide them for my new member or even my official member right now, how to very clear and explanation for or can I give them a guidance how to choose a right pathway for them? And I think I do it very briefly, just about very shortly, because I don't I am joining a dynamic leadership, and I still just about level 2 of that pathway, and I don't know many things. Yeah. So
okay, I think
I clear about my question.
Okay, so in the first, the material I went through will help any member zero down from which of 11 paths they might want to 2 or 3 paths. Were you here for the whole presentation? Okay, so you want to be sure and get those, and we'll publish these somehow. Michelle will find a way to publish these slides for you. The second part of your question is, in the second part of this talk, I am going to go through one of many, many tools available. And again, it's available on the net. You'll be able to save it and keep it. That makes it very easy for your members to say which of these paths do I want to do based on what is actually in them? There is not a one sentence guideline. There's no way to say in one sentence, oh, you should take number 3 or you should take number 5. The best we can do is give people tools to choose. So I think by the end of this presentation, you will have tools that you need.
Yeah. And George, thank you so much. Nguyen, just to clarify, what George is presenting is his own approach. So this is not official Toastmasters material, but George, being the Chief Pathways Guide of the First District, has tremendous experience. So if you're trying to find this later on the Toastmasters International website, you will not see it. It is not grouped this way. It is George's way of making it easy for us.
George,
And I think
okay.
Rashmi has a question.
Hello,
Thank you.
Michelle and George. So presently I am doing level 4 of innovative planning. And I'm a little bit confused in level 4 and level 5. So in level 4, level 4 project, I am going to present a seminar in a school. It's Malacca International School. Like I need to create a community team and team members. I need to lead that team, and I'm presenting a seminar over the importance of Toastmaster in that school, incorporated with the teachers and clerical staff, to make them aware about the communication and the importance of leadership within the school premises. So this is the project of my level 4. But sir, I am confused with the project of level 5 also. I read the manual, like high performance leadership. I didn't get anything about how high performance leadership means, how it will be changed from this project. In that also, I need to make a team. I need to lead that team. But what will be the difference in level 4 project and in level 5 project?
The big difference, particularly for your path, the high performance leadership, is it's a more substantial. It's the same concept that is in both of them. You do a project and you're working with some people. What you'll find when you're able to read the details of the high performance leadership at level 5 is that you have more of a structure. You actually have to have a guidance committee that you work out what your plan is going to be, and you meet with them at least 5 times.
Yeah.
To guide you and advise you. So conceptually, you could do a similar project for 4 and 5, but the level 5 project is considerably more oriented towards planning and getting validated by a guidance committee that's helping you do it, and you don't do it all yourself. So it's kind of, for that particular one, it's kind of a matter of degree rather than kind.
All right. Thank you, sir.
And we'll have an example of that later on.
Sure.
Other questions?
Let me see. If you have a question, please unmute yourself or type in the chat. Well, George, let's do a quick countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There. Don't have any questions.
Let's move on. Maybe some more questions. Some of the questions we just got are related to the material we're going to cover now. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we go. I'm going to go back into my slides. We're done with the questions. So this section of the presentation is geared around viewing the path details. This is kind of going to, I hope, answer some of the questions we just got. And I'm going to use the District 57 Paths and Projects Catalog. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, when we published this back in 2017, there was absolutely nothing else available. Now, 2.5 years later, there are several districts and probably even a few clubs that have also produced nice summaries. So this one, the advantage of this one is it's a PDF. It's a self-contained single file. It's easy to copy around and change, and it'll always be available even if the internet's not. So let's go through it. If you want to go get your own copy, I'm going to show you 2 ways, one of which is you navigate to our website, d57tm.org, then go to the Member Resources section, then go to the Pathways Learning Zone. These are all menu items. and then scroll down until you see the paths and projects catalog. Or you can go over to the chat box where Michelle has just published this URL, and that's going to be much easier to get a hold of than trying to copy down the one that I'm showing you on my screen. So either way, you don't need it right now this second, but I do highly advise you to click on Michelle's link or copy this down so that you can go back and get your own copy of this. I think you're going to find it very, very useful. So we're going to use the Paths and Projects catalog to go through some of the details and see what it means to do these kind of projects. I'm just going to click on it. And by the magic of hyperlinks, I now have the opening page of my Paths and Project catalog. I'm going to go through 3 different paths.
George, just a second. You
Yes.
probably need to unshare and reshare because
Thank
right
you.
now we're still looking at the same slide.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. I knew there would be a hole in that. Tell you what do you think about that one?
Yay. We would have missed that. That was so pretty.
That's why I need Michelle along to keep me straight here. I'm going to go through 3 examples, and if we have time more, we can do more. Let's start at the top in strong leadership. There are 3 paths in the strong leadership: effective coaching, innovative planning, and persuasive influence. Since we got a question about innovative planning, I'm going to use that one. So this PDF that you can have on your computer when you download it, you click on that path, it's going to show you this. Now, we're not going to go through all this. This is an awful lot of detail. Just note that level 1 and level 2 are fixed. That is, you don't get choices there. Level 3 has 1 required project, and you get to choose 2 electives from a long list. Level 4 is building skills. Let's look at that one. So this is a summary. And by the way, we did not write these summaries. All of these project descriptions are available in Basecamp in the resources section of Basecamp. So this is an exact copy of Toastmasters material. Notice here, and again, I'm replying to the question, your purpose is to practice developing a team plan, building a team, and fulfilling it. So you're going to form a team of people and choose a project. You've got to have a plan. You've got to present the plan to the club. So you're going to tell them ahead of time what you're going to do, aren't you? Then you work with a team to complete your project and do another speech about your experience. So that's basically it. It doesn't say anything about what the project is. It doesn't say how you manage it. It just says you should have 3 to 4 people and you work with them. Fairly simple, right? Now, by contrast, I'm back here on the innovative plan summary. Now let's look at the level 5 project. Oh, by the way, you notice there's actually 2 required projects at level 5. The second one, reflect on your path, is identical for every path. Identical for every path. So we're not counting that as one of our options. Let's look at the high performance leadership. By the way, I've done 3 HPLs under the traditional program, and I've done this high performance leadership under Pathways. So I'm quite about a bit. Again, you're still going to design and complete a project with well-defined goals, lead a good team, and be accountable to a guidance committee. This is the significant difference between this and any of the level 3 projects. You really need to apply your leadership and planning. The idea is you've got a project. The guidance committee is a set of people you're going to recruit. Ideally, people, they don't all have to be Toastmasters. For a Toastmasters project, they probably will. And you're going to meet with them 5 times at least, and they're going to advise them. You're going to share your plans with them. They're going to give you feedback. You're probably going to change your plan somewhat, or the ways you go about it based on what you hear from them. So you're really accountable to your team. And again, you're going to actually do the project, again, working with your action team, and finally deliver a second speech. So again, 2 speeches, 1 before to say what you're going to do, 1 after to say what you did. And there's quite a lot of things that you do here, including, they give you resources, including you get 360-degree evaluation. You send out this at the end of the project and ask your peers, guidance committee, action team to give you some feedback on how you did. Just like the rest of Toastmasters, we get an evaluation. So that's the big project, the strong leadership category. Let's move on to the moderate leadership categories. We've come down a notch if you want to go in terms of less leadership project. Now remember, moderate leadership has dynamic leadership, strategic relationships, and team collaboration. I'm going to pick dynamic leadership. Yeah, here, again, you see every path has 5 levels, the same level paths. Level 3, a level 4 to level 5, level 4. Let's see what the level 4 is and compare it to the level 5. So at level 4 of dynamic leadership, you're going to manage change. You're going to create a change management plan for a situation that could be a real one or it could be hypothetical. And again, you're going to come up with a plan for how something that was going to change. This is something that many Pathways guides effectively did when they helped out their clubs on Pathways. So you're going to create the plan. The key issue here is a plan. You don't actually do the project. You could, but it's not a required. Because this could be a past one that you already did. It could be an imaginary one. It could be a future one, anything like that. So the key thing is to create the plan, work through it, and then do a speech about it. So we didn't actually do a project in that one. But level 5, lead in any situation, definitely involves leadership. This is the one, all of the level 3s or the group 3s require a 6-month leadership role at any level. It can be in Toastmasters. It can be another volunteer organization. It can be something to do with your career. Now, it says a leadership role in Toastmasters at any level. So it could be any kind of leader. You could be elected one of the officers of your club. That is a leadership role. It doesn't have to be the president or the VP, but you're going to serve in your role. And when you're done, you're going to ask them to complete a 360-degree evaluation. And of course, at the end, give a 10-minute speech. So you see the difference here. Here, you actually do something. Level 4, you talk about doing a project. And level 5, you actually do the project. Now let's go to the second highest popular, and that's the presentation mastery. This one has no required leadership projects, although at level 4 and level 5, there are options. You can do leadership projects if you want to. Level 4, managing a difficult audience, it's a 7-minute speech, but this is one where it's arranged for you to have audience disruptions. Anyone ever gave a talk where the audience didn't sit there and quietly behave? Yeah, it happens. So again, it's just a speech, but you're doing a role play to deal with difficult members because after all, you may well need to do that. The level 5 project is prepare to speak professionally. This is an 18 to 20-minute keynote type speech. So you definitely, now you're challenged to present a longer speech, develop and present a longer speech, and to present it to an appropriate audience. It's up to you to find where that audience comes from. The conference presentation might be a good one. Let's do one more. Let's see, we did innovative planning, we did dynamic leadership. Let's do leadership development. So I'm doing 4 of them instead of 3. Again, they all have 5 levels. Level 3, you got 1 that you pick and you have a nice set of electives, and you'll notice those electives are pretty much the same. So leadership development is in the light leadership path. What is the level 4 project? Here we say accomplish a task while leading a small group and practicing basic skills of leadership. So the emphasis on small, and compare this to the other projects that had more people, 2 to 4 people. So it could be as few as 2 other people that you work with. You're going to do a project. There's no guidance committee to be accountable to, but you're going to work with a team to do it. Some great examples of something you might do here. A club project. Hosting an open house would be a great project, a great thing to do for this project. Doing a speech contest, coordinating a membership building campaign. These are deliberately designed to be modest efforts. You're not supposed to put a huge amount of time into it. And again, you can also do a non-Toastmasters project. And just again, one more time, all of these project descriptions are available in Basecamp in the resources section. So even if you lose track of this document, you can still read every single one of them. So now let's look at the level 5. Again, we're at light leadership, the leadership development. What's a level 5 project here? This one focuses on coordinating an event. We've gone from any type of project to doing an event as the project. And again, it should be substantial enough where you need to cope with different things that could happen. Plan, coordinate, and complete an event of your choosing. Notice there is no requirement for a team. You very likely would have one, but it's not required. And again, you'll present a 5 to 7 minute speech. So I hope you can see now that you get quite a wide variety of things that you can do. These 4 different groups of paths really do have substantial differences, particularly if you look at the level 4 and level 5 project. I think it becomes pretty obvious that there are differences. And this should help you choose what you want to do. After all, some people really join just for public speaking. Toastmasters is well known for what they do it. Some people really, really do want to grow and benefit from doing leadership style projects, particularly if your work is one where you wind up doing this a lot. These are great practice. It's just like the speeches. It's a safe way to practice a project in Toastmasters because there's maybe not the same implications there could be in a work project. So that is the end of the walking through sample paths and projects. So once again, let's go back to questions and answers and see if any more questions have arisen. Open for questions.
And it's okay if you already asked a question, you can ask a question again. Don't hesitate. Yeah, because I could see that Rashmi was smiling, and I was wondering if that was prelude to asking a question. Well, sorry, Nguyen has unmuted first. So Nguyen, and did you notice George did the dynamic leadership, which is actually your path? Do you have a question, Nguyen?
Okay. Can I ask a question? I think it's not, really related to the pathway today, but can I ask, because I see that all of you some many year experience of Toastmaster. So Josh, can I ask you a question? In the first time, do you join Toastmaster because of public speaking or leadership skill? I ask that because I and many officer member in my country join Toastmaster because 2 reasons. First is English speaking, of course, and the 7 is fun. Join Toastmaster is fun. So what do you think?
Let me give you a 2-part answer to that question because it's actually a very telling question. I personally joined for public speaking. When I joined 16 years ago, I was actually considered a pretty good speaker. I was the person most of the sales and marketing people wanted to go out to talk to customers. So I was recognized for that. But I was between jobs. There was a big downtime in the industry, and I felt I needed to keep my speaking skills sharp. So I joined a very silly reason, thinking I was just going to sharpen my skills a little bit. Before long, after giving a few speeches, I was astounded to realize I was getting better. Much, much better. Evaluations will do that. And so I've been in ever since. But let me give you the second part to that question, because one of my hobbies in my club, and I've been in the same club 16 years, is when a new member joins, I ask them kind of your question. I ask them why they joined. And of course, they usually say, oh, I want to get better at public speaking, or I want to work on my English, or something like that. But I ask the second question, I say, but why do you want to do those things? Why do you want to be a better speaker? Why do you want to be more confident? The answer is 99% of the time related to their career, to a promotion, to getting a leadership position, to getting ahead within their career. So they may have nominally joined for public speaking, but they joined because they had already figured out that strong leaders in their organization, in fact, have good public speaking skills. And what I've discovered over time, I've done a lot of projects in Toastmasters now. In 16 years, I've been involved with the district, most of it, and they're very challenging and interesting. I've been a project leader, I've been a department head, I've been a VP, all those things, and I've done a lot of things. I'm in Silicon Valley, by the way, technology company in Silicon Valley. You know what the difference is between that and doing a Toastmasters project? You have no power of the paycheck. You have no power of the paycheck. People don't have to stick around your project. And what I realized is the ability to motivate and persuade in a volunteer organization applies directly to our jobs. Because if you can get your team members motivated to want to do what you want to do, it doesn't even matter about the power of the paycheck anymore. You'll be a more effective leader.
Yeah. So you mean to focus on their career, their job, right? And with my experience, I can share with you about if you join Toastmaster, what is the benefit for your job or your career? You mean that's right?
Oh,
I misunderstand.
I'll give you a very brief answer and then we'll go on to the next one. There is simply no question. Every effective leader is an effective speaker. I can't put it any more simply.
Yeah.
Every effective leader that you have ever worked with, if you think back to it, they were a competent, good, or even amazingly good speaker. That's what you get out of Toastmasters, is you too will become a very, very good speaker. Or at the least, you'll be much, 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 much better than when you started, okay?
Thank you, Nian. And
you.
let's move on to Rashmi. I believe Rashmi has a question.
Sir, I am from Malaysia, from Malacca. So my club is a community club, but it is linked with a company, the pharma company. So maximum the employees are the members and few are outsiders. Some are Indians, some are Chinese, some are Malay, the local community, some are Filipino. So what thing presently I'm serving my club as a vice president public relation. So I am facing some challenges like Indians have different mindset, Chinese have different mindset, Malay have their own strategy, and Filipino have different thinking. So right now, what I am feeling that there is lack of connectivity, and when new members join, the main leaders are Chinese and Malay, and most of the people are Indian, the new joiners. So when I talk to them, we are losing so many membership this year. It's a bad news for our club, bad luck. So when I talk to them, they share me, they are feeling lack of guidance, lack of mentoring. These 2 points they share with me. These 2 points I shared with the club mentor and the senior peoples. They told me, Rashmi, we are doing proper guidance, we are doing proper mentoring. The thing is, people have to approach us. They need to come. How can we initiate communication from our side? So, sir, there is a lack of communication. I mean, some broken communication. And for example, next week, I'm going to meet a new member, that is Eric. He is a club member of since 6 months. And now he is going to discontinue the membership. I talked to him personally. Why, Eric? He is a good speaker. He is very enthusiastic on the stage and he speaks very well. I talked to him and he said me, the amount I'm paying to Toastmasters, I'm not getting any worth. Means I'm not learning enough things, the amount I'm paying to Toastmaster International. So I felt little hurt. It's not like that, Eric. There is lots of opportunities. There is not only the speech, it's management, it's leadership, but still he is firm. So next Wednesday, I'm personally going to meet him. I will talk to him face to face. I will try to persuade him for the Toastmasters. So I want both of yours some guidance to attract that new peoples which are very new and they are not properly connected with the Toastmaster. I know my journey is only 1.5 years old, but totally I am drawn in Toastmasters. Means I'm like I'm submerged. I like it. I love it. I'm living Toastmasters now. So I know the benefits. That thing I want to convey the new members. So some points, few points from both of your side, I can convey to them. I can persuade them to be the member and learn new things and enjoy the Toastmasters.
Tell you what, now take that and boil that down to a one-sentence question, please. Ask your question in one sentence as opposed to skipping the background, okay?
From sure, sir. Sir, how I can help new members to retain the membership? How I can influence them to continue their Toastmaster International journey?
Well, we probably have many different opinions. I'll give you mine. First, you work by example. If you're trying to show them to have a mentor, you should have a mentor. If you want to if you want them to actively participate in the program, you actively participate in the program. There's one other tool that I use that some people do and some people don't, and that is when there's a topic you feel like the members need to understand better, give a speech about it. For example, about once a year, we find that people are not taking up the roles anymore. It happens even in very good clubs, and my club is a very good club. Give a speech, remind them what the value is for taking the meeting role. Everyone thinks about being the speaker, but you give them that. If you don't seem to have a good connection with everyone on mentoring, for example, I'm sure you can arrange with your officers that you or one of the folks can give a speech about mentoring, what's involved, what's available, what it does for you, what it doesn't do for you. I mean, mentoring doesn't mean a new member can sit there and be spoon-fed knowledge. They have to be active. They have to be proactive. Now, that's my short thing. Michelle, would you like to add something to that one?
Certainly. However, I would like to ask, I know she's not feeling so well, but I think she also might not be able to, there, she's unmuted herself. I haven't even given her name yet. I would like to invite Carol to speak on that because I know mentoring is one of her major passions. So Carol.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, Rashmi. This is Carol. Excuse my crackly voice. I have mentoring as my top priority, but what I'm wanting to suggest to you for those members of your club is perhaps they could work on the same project together. Have a mentor to steer them in that direction and have each of the members unpack together what they see as an outcome from participating in that project. So one of the ones that George mentioned was lead in a voluntary organisation. I think that's the one. Something like that, where it's not just one person working on it, but each of those people are. So you could designate, delegate, or suggest to your members that they work together on the same project with a similar outcome, because what you want for the club is probably what each of them want to see for themselves. I hope that makes sense.
Ma'am, can I continue?
Yes, please do.
Ma'am, I started my mentoring program. After level 2, we can start that. So I have, right now I am mentoring one new member. So I want to ask, can I add that all new members in that project, or only I can?
You can have as many prodigies as you want or as your energy will allow. You obviously don't put them into the same group or the same mentoring if the other one is way ahead, and people oftentimes want to feel that they have their individual needs being listened to and addressed. But if you have 2 or 3, if you're lucky, having the same needs, having the same goals, then by all means. But it might not be advisable to do that. Some people are more private. They don't want to express their
Right.
questions or especially their ignorance in front of
Mm,
others,
correct.
especially if you mentioned the cultures that you mentioned. So you might want to have individual mentoring with more than one person. Of course, you have to take care of yourself to make sure that you do not burn yourself out. So at this
Absolutely,
point,
Michelle.
I'm wondering, is
Can
there
I add
anyone?
one thing there?
Yeah, sure, sure.
I would just suggest to Rashmi that she herself looks for her own mentor,
Sorry?
someone with look for your own mentor.
Okay, all right.
You can be mentor for your club, but seek your mentor outside of your club.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Rashmi, but do you have a mentor? And if
Yes,
you do,
I
okay, good,
have. I have.
good. Because anyone at whatever level still can make use of a mentor. I have a mentor, and I've been with Toastmasters for 23 years. I've
Right.
sought out mentors to help me on certain aspects. So let me check very quickly. There might be somebody else who is wanting to ask a question. It looks like the rest are hopefully listening and gaining, but I don't see anybody else who's unmuted except
I,
Nguyen. So
I
Nguyen,
have a
oh,
question.
okay.
And this is a very straightforward one for George. I think that the slides you shared with us today are exceptional. And I think they've been updated since the last batch that I looked at. And I wonder if you could simply share them with us in the chat today.
Oh, let's see. That's right. I can. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, that would be awesome because I recently had a question at a district officer training on the very topic that you have specified today. And I very quickly sent him the previous set of slides that you had posted, and that was satisfactory. But now I'd like to follow up and give him the new ones. So
Oh, you
thanks
think
for,
these are better?
Oh
I
yes,
do,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I really liked especially that first slide. George, you click on more and then underneath it will show share file.
No, I've got it. I'm navigating through my computer
Okay.
right now to find it.
Okay, so while George is doing that, Nguyen, okay, did you unmute yourself earlier? Or who was it? Somebody had unmuted. There you are. Did you
Okay.
have a quick question?
Okay. So because the first question, I tell that I don't have a real mentor for my when I joined Toastmaster. And since we are talking about the mentor, can I ask where and how can I find a mentor? Maybe I can add the upper level of my example. I am president of my club right now, so can I add the area director or division director or district director? What is and how I can find? Thank you.
Okay, so George, can I answer that very quickly? Are you a member, first of all, are you a member of the Pathways Discussion Forum, Nguyen?
I'm sorry.
Are you a member of the
Yeah.
Pathways Discussion Forum? Because well, the
Um.
reason why I ask that is we have a mentoring match up there, so you can.
Yeah.
I will post the link later on if you're not yet a member. You can look for a mentor there. In other words, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to always be within your own district. And the absolutely no person I would recommend to ask to be your mentor would be the district director. Having been a district director, we hardly sleep already. So being asked to mentor somebody, some of us are crazy enough to say yes, but
Yeah.
then it's not effective anymore because we are so busy just taking care of the district. So don't ask a district director to be your mentor. Maybe somebody who has served in leadership, but not the active current trio.
Yeah.
So I hope, and we
So
can. Mhm.
okay. Okay. We can communicate
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, I will
Thank you.
post the link later on. In the meantime, while we have George for the last 6 minutes, well, at least of this session, is there any other question that goes to the heart of his topic, which is how to pick a path? Seeing none, hearing none. Oh, Colleen. Colleen, go ahead. You have been very quiet, please.
Yes, I've been very quiet. I just want to thank George because what I tell my members, I was a Pathways guide and I've been using George's resources for about 2 years. And what I tell people to do is to go through the quiz, and when they get the paths that come up, either they're going to know exactly the one that's for them or they're going to be totally confused. And then I would send them George's catalog. And now I really like his new thing because it's just so much more compact and makes so much more sense.
Thank you.
And George, you were referred to by Karim Premji from District 86.
Very good.
Yes, and thank you so much for saying that, Colleen. It reminds me in my introduction of George, I missed one item, and I would like to say this. He has been recognized by Toastmasters International. He was awarded the Presidential Citation last year for all the work and time and effort and dedication he has given to Pathways, not just in his district, but worldwide as well, because his district was the first, the pilot district. However, he also stayed through and was with the final rollout, which was the undistricted clubs, clubs that don't even have districts, don't have district leaders. George, by spearheaded along with Carol McCulloch, who's also with us today, to have guides for the undistricted clubs. So at this point, perhaps if I don't have any other question, we could give
One more
George.
question. One more question.
Okay, we'll have a quick one and then we will wrap up. Yes, please.
I saw recently that George was telling us what else is happening in District 57, and I wondered if you would like to mention the new club officer role that is being put out there in District 57.
Wow, someone actually reads Facebook postings. Toastmasters Leadership Institute just this last weekend. Someone has muted me. No, I'm not. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I tried to unmute everyone and the sound was really bad. So I couldn't, I had to do it all. So sorry, but you're back.
Anyway, so the background is we had pathways, guides, and ambassadors when we rolled out the program. And we figured out really quickly that even though the guides terms were over, that there was still a strong need. So every year since then, starting in mid 2017, we have had a pathways coordinator. This is the coordinating support. I did it for the first following year. Well, another person did it the next one, and we've got a third person. And the proposal from that team is that we have a vice president of pathways in each club. This is in addition to a district level pathways support coordinator. And the idea is that person takes the leadership on working with new members, demoing how to get into pathways, helping them with path selections. They should all have a copy of these documents, right? And in generally supporting, giving presentations, etc. So the idea is that we know that we need to continue to support members until everyone in the world knows pathways, as well as the older members know traditional program. We need to continue educating, and that is the purpose of that position.
Thanks, George.
Thank you so much, Carol, for remembering that. And thank you, George, for initiating that. At this point, we have 1 minute to the bottom of the hour. So I will unmute everyone so we can give George a big round of applause. Thank you so much, George.
Thank you.
Give
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I will now stop the recording.